KXXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2, Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21 12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Means we're brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And it's a bit of a short week. We got a day here, couple off in the middle, and we'll circle things back on the 26th of December. We're fired up. You're here with us. If you're in the office, that's okay. We'll get you to the finish line. If you're taking a week off and you're still hanging out, we appreciate that as well. We got plenty to do. 15 minutes, we will talk to Sharif Ishak, Saints and Packers tonight from the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. It's going to be chilly. We'll talk to Sharif. LSU basketball was on the court yesterday. Got some thoughts on that. Glenn West, Go 24/7, going to be with us at the top of hour number 2. We're moving our Tuesday guests up to Monday today, and then Denton Day is always with us on Mondays. Going to join us at 2:30. We'll also talk about his Washington Commanders as they scored a big win over Philadelphia yesterday. Jaden was awesome once again, so we'll talk about all that over the next 2 hours. But we start the same way we start each and every day, and that's, of course, with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
All right, college football playoff. 12-team edition got started over the weekend, back on Friday night from South Bend, and then 3 more games on Saturday. And by now, you kind of know what the narrative is. And I understand. Kirk Herbstreit is going on game day. He's going on SportsCenter saying, hey, we need to quit worrying about Indiana won 11 games. We need to put the best teams in the field. And that sounds all well and good. And y'all heard me on Friday say I thought Indiana was a fraud. I don't think SMU's any good. I don't think Arizona State is any good. I don't think Boise is any good. That's my contention, and I know that there are plenty that disagree with that, Jacob Hester certainly being one. We've had our fun with that back and forth. And I hold those beliefs, but that doesn't mean that we just get to throw a bunch of teams in a bracket because they have a bunch of 4- and 5-star recruits and NFL players. I don't think... let me rephrase. I believe that the best teams are the teams that recruit the best players. But I still cannot sit here and reward Ole Miss for spending a bunch of money in the transfer portal and having a bunch of NFL players in the same season they lost to Kentucky. I cannot reward Alabama, who has got a ton of really good players and has got pros and has got 5-star recruits, when you lost to Vanderbilt and Oklahoma. I cannot reward South Carolina because they lost Ole Miss and they lost Alabama. They were crushed by Ole Miss. Yeah, you beat A&M. Yeah, you beat Clemson. But you've got some really ugly things on that resume. And at a certain point, you do have to take into account the results of games and not just the talent on the rosters. There's not an easy fix to this, because there will be people on one side that say you have to reward conference champions, you have to reward teams that win games, and there are some on the other side that say we should try to find the best teams. But there's an issue here that you've got to make losses matter. I can put one in the rearview mirror, but you start to add up to 3 and 4 losses just because you play in the SEC or the Big Ten, and I have to penalize that. The fix is the good teams have to win their games. Ole Miss has to beat Kentucky. I can hand wipe a loss at Florida as long as you've crushed Georgia. But I can't just sit here and go, okay, it's December the 15th. let's put this playoff together. Okay, these are all the guys with first and second round picks. We'll just go with them. I don't really care if you won or lost games. Because at that point, you've just devalued the entire 4 months. The issue with this year's playoffs was not that there were too many teams allowed in, was not strength of schedule, it was not the committee failing. The issue with this year's playoff is that some of the best teams in the country did not hold up their end of the bargain. I'm very confident that Ole Miss would have put up a better fight than SMU at Penn State. I'm very confident that South Carolina would have played Notre Dame more closely than Indiana. Those teams are better than the teams I'm talking about. But you can't throw up all over yourself from September through Thanksgiving. You can't. And Ole Miss did that. They gagged a two-score lead in Tiger Stadium. They absolutely vomited against a Kentucky team that didn't beat anybody else in the league. And then they went to Florida and lost to a team that found itself late in the season. Just because they've got guys that are going to go to the pros doesn't mean that I can just, 3 losses, whatever, just put them in. The only team I can almost get to that point with is South Carolina because their losses are good and they have a couple of reasonable wins. But again, A&M lost 4 games, so how much credit am I going to give for that? And again, Clemson now has lost 4 games. They lost 3 in the regular season. So it's not like they have one like Ole Miss does where they just hammered Georgia. I think that the games would be more competitive if we followed Herb Street's methodology and just took the teams that we thought were the best at football. But I just don't think you can crown a champion that way, just completely disregarding who won and who lost. And look, this is coming from the guy who's got the elitist mentality that dismisses Indiana's entire resume. But I don't have a great team to plug in there. If Ole Miss goes 10-2, abso-freaking-lutely, they deserve to get in over 11-1 Indiana. Absolutely, I have no problem with that. It's when you start adding more losses and they're ugly. That's the problem. You need the SEC teams to hold up their end of the bargain. They didn't do it. So what did we see on the field? Well, we saw an Indiana team that got outclassed. And that was predictable, in my opinion. Notre Dame is bigger. They're more physical. They've got more 4 and 5-star recruits. They've got more NFL draft picks. They just imposed their will on Indiana. And you could see that coming. You look at Happy Valley and SMU, I just don't think has a good football team. I think that's why I said on Friday, I said, look, this Penn State thing where we talk about, they can never win the big game, that's always against a quality opponent. This was a big game. It was not against a quality opponent. And I would not have I didn't want SMU in with 2 losses, including their conference championship game. But again, you got to put somebody in there. I think probably the take that I had on Friday that I felt the best about after the results of the game had gone final was that the Tennessee-Ohio State game, in my opinion, was likely to come down to what Nico Iamaleava showed up. And the Nico Iamaleava that showed up was 14 of 31 for 104 yards. He needs a great defense to play great and a great running game to run the ball great for him to be successful. And Tennessee's defense had no answer for Ohio State, and their running game wasn't very good. Part of that, the majority of that, was because of the point of attack. Tennessee got whipped, and it doesn't help when the SEC Player of the Year goes out after 2 carries and 6 yards. Dylan Sampson's a big deal to that team. However, I don't think, having looked at that game, that Sampson was going to make a big difference because Ohio State just whipped him at the point of attack. And you got Travion Henderson ripping off long touchdown runs. Quinshon Judkins coming off the bench, 2 more touchdowns for him. And Ohio State is just a better team. And I think that if you're, there are kind of 2 sides of this coin. We'll just, to simplify things for y'all, we'll put it on the Hunt side of the coin and the Hester side of the coin. My side of the coin says all I care about is 4 and 5-star recruits, first-round picks. Those are the good teams. The teams that won some crappy conference, I don't believe are good. Hester would disagree with that, but that's the side that he's on. And Hester could come to me and go, well, you like Tennessee, and they got crushed too. And that is a reasonable point. I disagree a little bit because I think Ohio State is in a different class than Notre Dame and Penn State. I think that they're in a different class than those teams. Texas is probably there. And Clemson got destroyed as well. But I think that most teams are going to go to the shoe in December and get tuned up pretty good. Certainly Michigan did not. I get it. That's why we don't know the results before these games are played. But my entire thesis on this weekend that was in the college football playoff is not that the playoffs are broken, not that there's too many teams. You just, on a given year, I think you're going to have more teams get to that 10-2 mark in the power leagues as opposed to slipping to that 9-3 mark. And I think at that point, you've got a more competitive playoff. Look, the 4-team playoff had blowouts too. Every year, blowouts. So in a sport that has haves and have-nots, that's going to happen sometimes. But I don't think this is a quick fix, and I don't think that Herb Street is perfectly on the right track, and I don't think this system is perfect either. But it needs teams to hold up their end of the bargain. Beck, you watched a lot of football this weekend. You've heard me rant and rave about this whole thing. Your overarching themes on this situation.
Yeah, you were right this time, Hunt.
Love to hear that.
You're not always right. You have your moments, but this was a circumstance, except for the Tennessee and Ohio State game. But that I wouldn't even say that's that big of an indictment on the playoff or like the way that the teams were ranked because Ohio State had a good season. They didn't have a lot of impressive wins, but they were played very well the whole season. So.
We know how good that roster is.
Yeah, we know how good they are. And we know how good. I thought Tennessee, I'm not going to lie. I didn't see Texas, and I thought Texas was going to win that game. I thought it was going to be a little bit closer. Of course, at the end, it got a little bit
I was
chippy,
impressed with Texas offense.
Yeah.
That's a question mark there. And maybe Ewers got 2 weeks off and was healthy. I don't know. But I knew Texas defense was good. I didn't know that they were going to score like they did on Clemson.
Yeah. But other than that, yeah, the SMU Penn State game was hilarious. Like
SMU stinks. They don't have any good players.
But it was so funny. Like they go down 14-0. Maybe it was 21-0 at this point.
Well, their quarterback just couldn't stop turning the ball.
No, he couldn't. And Penn State had the ball on their own 19-yard line and went for it on fourth down and didn't get it. Yeah. And SMU gets the ball in the red zone. And they throw another interception. Like, it was just a comedy of errors for SMU. They had no chance in that game.
Sometimes Twitter gets really funny when in that instance everyone is watching the exact same game and everyone's having the exact same reaction to just a comedy of errors by SMU's offense.
And it's like in that situation, it's like, James Franklin, you idiot. What a terrible decision. You go for on your own 19 when you're up 3 scores. Like, why would you even give them a chance on the 19-yard line? And they just, nope, we actually don't want to score. We'll give it back to you an interception. So that was a tough one. But
SMU was good in the 80s. They're no longer good.
Yeah. But this was the first round was a good case study for your thoughts in terms of which teams shouldn't be in there, and which teams should be at least which teams shouldn't be in there. Like all the teams that you said shouldn't be in there so far, they proved they did not deserve to be in it. So,
but again, my point stands. I don't think you can just toss Alabama in there and just forget the fact that they played 2 atrocious Saturdays and lost an awful Oklahoma and Vanderbilt.
Let's not pretend that if Alabama gets in and they play Penn State or they go on the road to Ohio State, like let's not pretend that they couldn't lose by 3 touchdowns.
They could. They lost by 3 touchdowns in Norman, Oklahoma.
Yep.
To a team that couldn't move the football on anyone.
Yep.
So there it is. All right, let's talk some Saints. They play the Packers tonight. Sharif Ishak, WDSU, is with us next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio, video, security solutions, AVSSLA.com is that website. Had the family over for Myra's birthday this weekend, and we just never turned Christmas music off all day long, all evening long. We were cooking, hanging out, just watching the kids play, and had awesome Christmas music going all the time through fantastic speakers that were installed by the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. Check out their Instagram at AVSS_BR. You can see some great examples of some of the technology that they've got. They can certainly help you out with your home entertainment system. They can help you out with your security system. Whatever is electronically, Mitchell Fisher and his team can help you out with all of it. I give you Mitchell Fisher's cell phone number every single day on this show. It's great to know that you're dealing with the owner of the company when you make that phone call. It's 225-439-7920. Again, 225-439-7920. You can check them out online, avssla.com. It's Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our draft.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
All right, our Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. All your printing, scanning, copying be done Gulf Coast Office Products. Shout out to Trey Beal and his fantastic team. I tell you all the time about Gulf Coast Office Products and how they're not as they're a perfect mix between that mom and pop shop that is great customer service wise and maybe doesn't have the capabilities to handle everything that you need, and that big box store who doesn't know who you are and you're just a line item but has all the capabilities in the world. They've got $1 million of inventory right here on the ground in Baton Rouge. They've got a statewide team, tons of technicians as well. But you can pick up the phone and call Gulf Coast Office Products. You're going to get a friendly face and a friendly voice, and you're going to have fantastic customer service with the folks at Gulf Coast Office Products. So all your printing, scanning, copying needs, it's Gulf Coast Office Products, online at GCOPnet.com. Saints tonight are in Lambeau Field to take on the Green Bay Packers. It is going to be chilly up there at Lambeau, and the Saints have been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. So it's really just a situation here where you're getting another look at Spencer Rattler, some of these young players, in an iconic setting. And there's not really anything on the line for the Saints other than draft position and pride at this point. So we'll get a thought on this game tonight with Sharif Ishak, who joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline, or Sharif down there at WDSU in New Orleans. Sharif, how are we doing?
I'm doing great. I'm not in Lambeau Field where it's 25 degrees and snowing apparently, so I'm happy and grateful for that.
Yeah, that's just not. Well, I had a great time at Lambeau Field before the game started in September when LSU played. I don't have any interest at all in going up there for one of these December games when it's in the teens. That's a no-go for me. As I mentioned there, Saints mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Do you want them to win, or do you need a better draft position?
No. No. I mean, look, it's sad to say that because these guys, like, man, they're playing for a spot on the team, and they really do play hard for Rizzy. That's one thing they've done, and I think that you want to, I guess, see what this team has moving forward after these last 3 games, who you can count on, who you can depend on. I sound like a broken record, man. Like, can they count on Kendre Miller after this year? I'd love to see more from Kendre and stay healthy in these next 3 games, because I think he's going to get a majority of these runs and these carries until Kamara comes back. If he comes back, if he does, I'd be shocked it's not the last game. But you want to see these players, these young players, improve, because this franchises, they need players in a very bad way. I mean, and it's not good right now. The books are bad, of course. That's always been the case, but you have to start finding these pieces if this thing ever needs to turn over, which needs to happen as soon as possible.
With Kendre Miller, Ross Jackson had a story for us at LouisianaSports.net where Dennis Allen basically put him on IR even though Miller was just about ready to go, because I think they just got crossways with the injury history. How much blame do you put on Kendre Miller for his unavailability, and how much was just a bad situation that maybe he can shake out of?
A little bit of both. I mean, it was on him in training camp when we talked for the very first time. He got hurt 10 minutes into practice. Hurt his hamstring. Yeah, that's on him. I mean, he'd tell you that. He even said it before the season, or when the season ended last year, that hey, he has to do a better job of staying healthy, and it didn't come out healthy. But I think that last part was on Dennis Allen. I think it was one game he should have never been put on IR again and missed 4 games. I think he was probably going to be ready after that one game. But he looks motivated, and the way he ran last 2 games, you're starting to see the flashes. You're starting to see the guy who they drafted, to help Alvin Kamara. So, yeah, I think the talent is there. It is there for him. I mean, that the guy can run between tackles. It's just, man, it's just unfortunate how that situation unfolded this year with he and Dennis Allen. I think, but I think he got put in a bad spot, and I think he should have been playing much quicker and much sooner instead of going on IR.
What's your anticipation for Spencer Rattler tonight?
That's a top 10 defense, and you're playing in some, I know it's probably not going to be snowing. It may not even be snowing, but that's cold. Cold is cold. Midwestern cold is different than your Southern cold. It's just, they're used to it. They know how to play in it. I think I saw a stat that they've never lost a Monday Night Football game in December in Lambeau Field. So look, man, they got to come out fast. They can't turn the ball over. I mean, as cliche as it sounds, you can't have the start that they did last week with Jake Kaner. They need to have the start that they had with Spencer Rattler in the second half. And they just got to push forward, man. They just make something happen, because I don't know. I just don't know how, without all these weapons, they are going to penetrate a top 10 defense. I mean, that's a defense that's tough, and they're even more tough at home. So look, if you can get to 150 yards and a touchdown, it almost sounds like a victory for them. Not on the scoreboard, but in terms of pride.
I mean, this Packers defense statistically is very good as far as yards allowed and points allowed. They're not incredibly dynamic as far as the pass rush goes, as far as those advanced analytics with pass rush win weight and all that kind of stuff. They're not jaw dropping there. So you would think that the Saints could theoretically keep Rattler upright. It's just a matter of can they make some plays if they do against a good unit there in Green Bay. Last time the Saints saw Jordan Love, he had not really taken off yet. Saints still found a way to give that game away, but it's a different guy at this point in his career. What do you expect from the Saints defense tonight?
I mean, it's crazy as it sounds. I know it was last year in September, but that felt like a get going game for Jordan Love, because ever since then, his trajectory has gone upward and upward each game. And man, look, he's dialed in. That's a guy like you can kind of see like he learned a lot from Aaron Rodgers in those 3 years. I think he's got like the traits. He's got like the way he rolls out and throws the ball. I mean, he doesn't really turn the ball over much. I mean, he's not necessarily like in the top 10 of all those important categories, but he does a good job of like not getting sacked. I mean, I think he might be the top in the NFL of all the every week starters of not getting sacked. I think he's only been sacked 11 times. So he does a good job of avoiding the blitz. He does a job of getting out of the blitz, and it takes care of the football. I mean, you have to disguise it. I mean, and if you get to him, you've got to bring him down. You miss him, it's going to be a long game. That's a guy you cannot let shake free, because he'll just keep his eyes down the field like he usually does as well, and release the ball down the field to Watson or one of his other receivers, because, I mean, it's just not him, though, huh? I mean, Josh Jacobs is also there. That's a top 5 running back in the NFL. So, look, man, I'm anticipating a long night, to be honest with you. I'm anticipating that the 14-point spread is correct, and it could go over that.
Look, I'm speaking for myself, and then you can comment here or there, but I'm not shocked that Dennis Allen got fired. I'm not shocked that the Saints aren't great. I'm not shocked that Derek Carr got hurt. I'm pretty shocked the Saints have been atrocious as far as run defense goes. That's not something that was on my radar in August. How surprising has that been for you?
Very. Yeah, it wasn't on my radar either, man. I mean, just to see how many yards are just being piled up, week after week after week. I thought they did a good job last week with Jaden Daniels. I mean, he had the 66 yards. I mean, that one run was like his big run. But the problem is like sometimes those small turns into bigs, and those small, like, not being able to get a quarterback down turns into a big play down the field with the arm. And that's the type of thing that worries me with scrambling quarterbacks like Jaden and Jordan. But then, like the Josh Jacobs stuff, it worries me because of explosive plays. That's where the Saints defense has had issues in terms of running backs, is giving up explosive plays. You saw it with Saquon Barkley. We've seen it a few times throughout the season. Yeah, man, this is the one part of the defense going into the season I thought would be like the most reliable part of their defense would be the run defense, and it has certainly let them down for pretty much most of this season. And that's why they're in the situation that they're in defensively.
No question about it. Saints and Packers tonight on Monday Night Football. We'll be watching. Y'all have a great holiday, Sharif, and we'll talk next week.
All right, anytime, Hunt.
Sharif Ishak, WDSU down there in New Orleans. Yeah, I think tonight. I mean, we talked about this a little bit with Luke last week on Thursday. The problem in this matchup tonight is that the Packers really can run the ball. They are physical, and Jacobs is really good, and they get things rolling when they're really good on the ground. Sure, Jordan Love's played much better football over the past calendar year than he did before the Saints played there last year, but the run game is what powers them, and the Saints can't stop the run, and it's a huge, huge problem. It's not one that I saw cropping up this year. You look at that interior defense, and you see some veteran players in an emerging Brazil. You see Cam Jordan and Carl Granderson on the edges. Demario Davis is still in there. Pete Werner. I mean, they've got the makings of a group that should be able to stop the run, and they just simply cannot. And so I don't anticipate that starting again tonight. We'll see, but that's the biggest problem that I have when I look at this matchup for New Orleans and think, okay, how does this play out? It just the running game. I think the Packers are going to run for 190 yards tonight. It's just that is a big issue for New Orleans. So we'll talk about it a little bit more as we move forward. If you're looking for our Saints coverage, you can always find it over at YouTube, Hunt on Saints. That is now in podcast form for those that want to check that out. You can see wherever you find your sound. You can search Hunt on Saints. Ross Jackson will have story up tonight on LouisianaSports.net. For this one between the Saints and the Packers. So we got you covered on all angles there with New Orleans and Green Bay. When we come back, LSU got a win on the hardwood last night, plus the announcement that a player is no longer with the team. We'll talk about all that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. You can start your process there. You can honestly just about finish your process there at genesisofbatonrouge.com because they make things so easy for you in this buying process. You never have to set foot on the lot if you don't want to. You can make a phone call over to Genesis of Baton Rouge, tell them the car that you'd like to test drive. One of their brand ambassadors will drive it to you. You can test drive it from work. You can test drive it at home. If you find what you're looking for, they can do digital delivery. They've got e-contracts. They can make this thing as painless as possible as far as a car driving experience goes. And then once you make that purchase and you are a driver with a Genesis from Genesis of Baton Rouge, valet maintenance, complimentary maintenance for 3 years. But they'll come to you for all of that as well. You don't have time to go to the dealership and get that oil change, get those wiper blades taken care of, get your new air filter. I don't have time to do all that. Well, you don't have to take time out of your day. They'll do it for you. They'll bring a car to you. You can get on about your day. They'll take your vehicle over to Genesis Baton Rouge, Airline and Pico, and they'll take care of your valet. It's all fantastic stuff over at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Check them out online, genesisofbatonrouge.com, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
LSU beats New Orleans last night, 86-70. Yesterday afternoon, I guess I should say, on the hardwood. It was a bit of a clunky start for LSU with 14 and a half minutes to go in the game. It was tied at 38, and this is a UNO team that's among the worst teams in the country. And then LSU kind of threw it into overdrive a little bit. Tigers outscored UNO 22-1 over the next 10 minutes of action and coasted to a 16-point win. Look, it's a Sunday afternoon. There's nobody in the PMAC. UNO's terrible. I don't expect LSU to come out firing on all cylinders, and they certainly didn't. But they outscored UNO 56-41 in the second half. Cam Carter had a double-double with 14 and 11. Corey Chest had a double-double with 12 and 10. That's the sixth game in a row for Corey Chest that he's gone to double-digit rebounds. Victorious Miller paced LSU in scoring with 17 points. He made 3 more threes. He had been in a little bit of a funk shooting the deep ball, but he made 4 in the game back on Tuesday, I think it was, and then he made 3 more in this game. So shooting it a little bit better. LSU as a whole did not shoot the ball well from the three-point line at all. Curtis Givens was 1 of 8. That was a low spot there for him. And everybody else was 6 of 21 for 3. That's 29%. LSU's got to shoot the ball better from 3 if they're going to beat some of these teams in the SEC. They're not talented enough and good enough on defense to smother teams and win a lot of games that way. They may win a couple here or there, but more often than not, when you play these really good teams in league play, you can't go out there and shoot 22% from 3. That's just, you're going to get beat most nights if you do that. So LSU needs to shoot it better. I did think that Curtis Givens did a really good job running the show. He had 5 more assists and no turnovers in this game. That, going back to the last game where he had 6 assists and 1 turnover, that's 11 assists and 1 turnover in the last 2 games. He, to me, looks like a completely different player than he did the first 3-4 weeks of the season. I talked about this a lot last week. He was a little timid for my liking, and that's to be expected with a freshman point guard. Like, I'm not expecting everyone to show up and look like Cam Thomas out there and score 28 a night right out of the chute. Like, there is an adjustment period for these young players, and Givens certainly was going through that. But it's obvious that Curtis Givens is their guy at backup point guard. Mike Williams was not even with the team yesterday. Matt McMahon said after the game that he feels like Mike Williams will return after Christmas. He was away from the team for personal reasons. He hasn't played since the Northwestern State game at the end of November. So Mike Williams has not played a minute in December at this point. So I don't know what you can expect from him moving forward with the program. Either way, Curtis Givens is going to be your number 2 guy at the point guard position, and I think he's playing better basketball than he did early in the season. That's a really good thing for LSU. I thought that LSU really bothered UNO with their length. You look at this layup metric. UNO was 11 of 25 at the rim. LSU blocked 8 shots in this game. Robert Millard blocked 3 of them. I do think that LSU is a pretty disruptive team defensively. That's not something that I really thought LSU would be at the beginning of the season, but it's probably a little bit of a side effect of Jalen Reed going down. As Reed goes down, you've got more minutes from Damian Collins and an increased role from Corey Chest, and those 2 guys are more disruptive at the rim than Jalen Reed is. So it stands to reason that LSU is a little bit better defensive team at the rim. Now, do I think that blocking a bunch of shots from UNO is immediately going to translate when you play Arkansas and Vanderbilt and Kentucky and Tennessee? We'll see. But undoubtedly, Damian Collins, Corey Chest, and even to this point, Robert Miller, who blocked 3 shots, they've got a lot of length and a lot of athleticism. And so that's going to have to be one of the hallmarks of LSU's team. LSU's going to have to win SEC games with ancillary stuff like that, with stuff in the margins like that. They're not going to be able to out-talent teams in the SEC. They're not going to have more pros than teams in the SEC. They're not going to be significantly older than most teams in the SEC because just about everyone is old. So you're going to have to use some of the things that you do have. Length is one of those things, and it showed in the game on Sunday afternoon. Let's see. What was one other thing? Oh, the LSU dominated the glass, which was good. They won it 50-37. They got 17 offensive rebounds. Corey Chest got 6 offensive rebounds. He is so good on the glass, and it is puzzling to me. And I may get a chance after a game to ask Matt McMahon about this because you never know. Like, I'm not certain what the backstory was, but I'm a little puzzled at why Corey Chest did not play last year. The decision was made early on to redshirt him, and it feels like he would have been ready to go in there and rebound the way that he is right now. I don't get the sense that he came in overly skinny. He's not like a guy that's going to handle the ball all that often, so that's not an adjustment he was going to have to make. I feel like he was probably ready to go in there and grab rebounds. and the decision was made to redshirt him. It may pay out great. He may be at LSU for 3 more years, and we'll see. I'm just again, I'm not like questioning the decision to do it. I just don't really understand why. And I'd like to learn more about that because he's been a revelation. He's the guy back in October that I said, look, I don't know if he's going to start and average 30 minutes a night. I don't know if he's never going to get off the bench. I don't know anything about Corey Chest other than that he redshirted and he was a 4-star recruit. Well, it turns out, and I think even before Jalen Reed got hurt, he was in the starting lineup. He was going to have a big role on this team because what he does is vital to what LSU is trying to do. And so he's excelled, again, in the game 2 games ago in just 20 minutes of action. He got 10 rebounds. He got 10 more in the game on Sunday. He's been fantastic. So, again, this is not a stretch of the season where you're going to learn a lot about LSU. These teams are bad. You've got a bad Stetson team, a bad UNO team, and then coming up on Sunday of next week, you'll play a bad Mississippi Valley State team that we have now oftentimes referred to as the bottom team in the net. They still are the bottom team in the net. But you got to stay healthy. You got to get some of these young guys playing time. They did with Givens and Miller, and both Millers, I guess I should say. Victoria's led the team in scoring. Givens led the team in assists. Miller led the team in blocks. That's all encouraging stuff to see in December before things really get to the grindstone coming up in January with conference play. So I'm not going to sit here and try to sell you a bill of goods on how improved LSU is playing in these 3 games at the end. It's a lull in the schedule against bad teams where LSU is going to win the games comfortably. You're just going to kind of pick a spot here or there, something that stands out. And for me, I've kind of done that as well. Can't start 2 of 16 from 3 like LSU did before halftime. That's not going to win you many basketball games. But they've got some guys that can shoot. Jordan Sears can shoot. Cam Carter can shoot. Victorious Miller can shoot. Derek Fountain has shown an ability to go back out there and knock down some shots as well. They've got to shoot it a little bit better, but there is some that I like here. And you look up at the team that's 10-2 on the season with 1 more non-conference game to go. They'll be 11-2 going into league play at the first week of January, and we'll see whether or not they can stay afloat. That's kind of where we are. Beck, you got any hoops thoughts before we get out of here?
No, not really, man. That game pretty much went how you probably would have expected it. Another slow start, which again we say they really cannot afford to do that in conference play. But hopefully, with more fans in the seats,
I'm willing to give them a pass on that.
They'll adjust, I think, to the levity of the game. So yeah, I mean, not much to take away from it.
I think there will be a decent crowd for the Vanderbilt game.
Yes,
it's a Saturday.
It's a Saturday, and I think it's afternoon.
It is afternoon. Yeah, that's the sweet spot. You get that Saturday, like 4:00 Saturday game.
Yep, you'll get all the old folks that maybe won't show up for an 8:00 tip. So I think it'll be pretty decent crowd. I mean, nothing else is happening that weekend. So
yeah, and we'll talk about this in the first week of January. But that is a huge game for us.
It is very big.
A huge game. I'd almost rather they open at Tennessee. Like, just because there's just no pressure on that game at all. Number 1 team in the country, you go up there, you lose by 20. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
But you got to come out roaring in that game. So we'll see. That's 2 weeks away. But LSU back at it coming up on Sunday against Mississippi Valley State in the final non-conference game of the season. Our Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. It's a very, very special day. So we'll come back and we'll celebrate with that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been rocking and rolling for 40 years down there at Boudreaux's Electrical. Their son Justin is kind of taking the reins, and he's handling business. Boudreaux's Electrical handles a lot of business. They're in the top 3% nationwide in Generac home standby generator sales. One of the things that's great about working with Boudreaux's Electrical is you can guarantee that you'll get a 7 to 10 year warranty on your home standby generator if you work with the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical. I'm going to give you the phone number here in a second, but keep this in mind. Like, I'm never going to tell you about some VIP package you got to pay for over at Boudreaux's Electrical to get quality service. It's just part of working with Boudreaux's Electrical. That's their promise to you. Phone number 985-397-1562, 985-397-1562, or the new location in Gonzales, 225-300-9389. Give yourself the peace of mind that the power is not going to go out at your home or your office. You can do that with a Generac home standby generator from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical. Visit them online, boudreauxelectrical.com, boudreauxelectrical.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Kramer, I got your message. I haven't celebrated Festivus in years. What is your interest?
Well, just tell me everything, huh?
Many Christmases ago, I went to buy a doll for my son. I reached for the last one they had, but so did another man. As I rained blows upon him, I realized there had to be another way.
What happened to the doll?
It was destroyed. But out of that...
It's a Festivus for the rest of us. December 23rd is Festivus, and we certainly have to celebrate that. For those that don't understand the reference, I apologize. I spend my entire life not understanding pop culture references. This one I do understand. It is, of course, from Seinfeld. It is Festivus, and there's only one way to begin things with Festivus, and that is with the airing of grievances.
All right, let's begin.
All right. I've got a lot of problems with you people, okay? And I'm going to let you know about it. The first airing of grievances, the first grievance is directed at the Long Island Sharks. You're going, who the hell are the Long Island Sharks? I will tell you who the Long Island Sharks are. They're the 4 seed in the Chapel Hill Regional, and they had an 8-5 lead in the 9th inning against North Carolina, and they choked it away. And that probably cost LSU a shot to play in a Super Regional at home in the box, and probably would have gotten to Omaha, and maybe could have won the whole thing. I'm not blaming the game that LSU lost on Monday. I'm blaming Long Island for Friday night's failures. That is a grievance that I have. It is unacceptable. They're number 1 in my airing of grievances. Number 2, y'all know where this one's going. Larry Ellison and Jolin Zhu. You are a grievance of mine because you decided to take hundreds of billions of dollars and use the Michigan football program as a toy. Larry, this is your 5th wife, man. Just worry about something else, not football. Taking my quarterback? Unacceptable. Larry Ellison and Jolin Zhu. Jolin, who I guess cares about Michigan football now, buying my quarterback. I don't like that. Mickey Loomis. I got some grievances with Mickey. I got a lot of grievances with Mickey. Dennis Allen's gone. Derek Carr's hurt. I can't really blame those guys. Mickey is the one who has orchestrated this mess and is going to probably have to be the one that's tasked with figuring out how to get out of it from awful aging roster and bad salary cap situations. Not good at all over on Airline Drive. Mickey Loomis, I got a lot of problems with how you're handling things. And basically, I'm just going to go down the street and go to the entire Pelicans organization. Nobody's doing a good job over there. The equipment managers are not doing a great job. The medical staff's not doing a great job. The coaching staff's not doing a great job. The players aren't doing a great job. There's only one team in the NBA that has a worse record than the New Orleans Pelicans. So I'm not even going to specify anybody right out in front. I'm just going to say that everybody is doing a bad job in the Pelicans organization. They're all on the grievances list. LSU football's Unity Council, their leadership group, I have a big problem with. And you all know this already, but you're wearing stupid uniforms every week. I've basically given up on these segments, but now we're airing all the grievances. It would be ridiculous for me to go through the last 365 days and not air grievances about what LSU wears any given Saturday because you wore stupid alternate uniforms more times than the traditional uniforms. That is unacceptable. I got a lot of problems with you people. Maryland Eastern Shore Baseball. You probably forgot about this, but I got a lot of problems with those people. Maryland Eastern Shore Baseball this season, 2024, went 0-48. I got a lot of problems with that. You got to win one of 48 baseball games. One time. And do they play a tough schedule? No. They didn't play anybody in Quadrant 1 or Quadrant 2, and they lost every game. 0-30 in the Northeast Conference. Maryland Eastern Shore. That is bad. And I'm not done with this part of the story because Arkansas Pine Bluff, your baseball team, had a worse RPI than Maryland Eastern Shore, and Maryland Eastern Shore went 0-48. Pine Bluff at least won 9 games this year, but their RPI was still worse than Maryland Eastern Shore. I don't know how the RPI works, but it feels like if one team wins 9 games and one team wins 0, they should have a better RPI. It just didn't work out at this point. And then one more grievance, which I haven't really talked about on the air. I've got a couple more, actually. The list is growing. Whoever decided to put breakdancing in the Olympics, that was ridiculous. That was the low point of the Olympics for me, is that ridiculous breakdancing saga. Awful, awful stuff. All right, I can't get off a list of grievances without going to Texas A&M's Yell Leaders. They were on the internet again this year. Texas game, it just didn't go well. I got a lot of problems with those people because it looks ridiculous. They got to either turn the cameras off in there or quit doing the yell practice. A&M's Yell Leaders, awful, awful stuff. And then, if we're sticking in the sports world here, the cop that arrested Scotty Scheffler in Louisville, come on. Trying to win the PGA Championship. He's number 1 player in the world. It's dark outside. It's raining. We're not arresting the number 1 player in the world because he damaged your pants, okay? A lot of problems with the cops in Louisville. They're dealing with Scheffler. And that basically is my list of grievances this year. Beck, how did you feel that was executed? Do you feel like that's a proper list, or did I miss something?
No, that was pretty good. Only thing for myself, the one thing I would add.
Please air grievances.
Yeah, I would say just traffic in Baton Rouge in general. We just have no answer for it. There's nothing we can do except sit in traffic. At 3 o'clock. I left Baton Rouge on Friday from this office at like 3:30 or 4 o'clock, and there was already traffic. It was already gridlock on the interstate. Like, can we at least not have traffic until 5 o'clock when it's supposed to be there? Like, can I leave at 3:30 or 4 o'clock and not have to go through traffic?
I feel like I don't get in that much traffic. I think I know where to go and when not to go those places.
But sometimes you just have to go at a certain time, hon. Sometimes you have to go somewhere and be somewhere at 6 o'clock. We were going to my cousin's house in Denham Springs, and we were supposed to be there for 6 o'clock. We left at 5:15 and got there at 6:45.
Well,
it took us an hour.
It's very impolite to show up 45 minutes late.
Yeah, well, hon, I didn't think that leaving 45 minutes
Did you bring
early
a chocolate
was going to be a
babka?
problem. No, I didn't bring a chocolate babka.
Bring a cinnamon babka?
No, we brought something called monkey bread. It was a dessert.
Oh, it's kind of like babka.
Yeah, it kind of is. But yes, I'd rather not have to leave for somewhere that is literally 15 minutes away from my house and take an hour. That's just I would rather not have that. So that's my main grievance.
I got to drive a lot tomorrow. Going to the North Shore and back. A little nervous about that.
Yeah,
then we got to drive a ton on Christmas Day. We got to go to Metairie. Then we got to go to the North Shore again.
Yep, I drove to New Orleans on Friday, and there was a wreck on the interstate at Seguin, and so I got off the interstate in order to avoid the wreck and go down Highland to get back on the interstate. And about 500 other people had the same idea as me. So I sat at the turn signal at Highland and Burbank for about 30 minutes. So it didn't really help me out there. So good luck with that.
We got to do the feats of strength now.
Yeah, what are we going to do?
Got to get the pole out of the crawl space.
Where's the pole?
I find tinsel very distracting.
It is.
There are people that have no idea what we're talking. Do you have any idea what we're talking about, Cassie? Just absolutely not. Just completely.
Do you have any grievances though, Cassie? You got to have some grievances. I mean, there has to be some.
I don't really have any.
There's no way.
Everything's perfect in Cassie's world.
Not
Just rock
perfect. I do agree with you. Like I have to drive a lot over Christmas because we still have work like today and then the day after Christmas, and my family's in Metairie, so I have to like go back and forth between Metairie and stuff. So
Taylor has agreed to do my show on Thursday if I allow him, but I feel guilty because he's doing the morning show and AFR. But my wife doesn't want me to work on Thursday, so that's really the question. I have to decide by the time I leave here today if I'm coming into work on Thursday. I've got all this vacation that I've accrued that's going to be
just going to go,
and I just didn't take any days off this year. Very, very. That's a grievance of me.
That's poor.
I got a lot big problem with me for not taking enough time off this year. Awful performance by me from a vacation perspective. So there's your Festivus. A Festivus for the rest of us there. Yikes. That is quite loud.
Accident.
We got a lot to do in hour two. Glenn West is going to join us, talk some LSU. Still got to talk with Denton Day as well about the national college football scene in 35 minutes, plus more Saints and Packers discussion. Hope you're not working today, but if you are, we'll get you to the finish line. Come back after Sports Center. It is a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show presented by Gulf Coast Office Products.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Safety is a big, big deal in the bathroom, especially as folks age. It can be really, really hazardous spot. And David Duvall and his team often are able to go in and at least mitigate some of those risks. They can put in non-slip floors. They can put handrails around potentially slippery areas. They can do walk-in tubs that are more convenient and safer. They can do showers with benches in them as well. It's not always just about making things look pretty, although it will. There's a health aspect and a safety aspect to this that certainly should be considered. If there's someone in your life that's aging and you'd like to have some of these things put into that bathroom, call David Duvall and his team or go to the website onebathandclosets.com and get that free consultation. You can see the reviews from their satisfied customers. You can see the pictures of their fantastic work, and you can start the process with that free consultation at onebathandclosets.com, onebathandclosets.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment. Dave's back on. Coors Light. Choose chill.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Brack, your #1 park system in the nation.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong. Gulf Coast.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. NFL Week 16 wraps up tonight with the Packers hosting the Saints. Green Bay clinches a playoff spot with a win. ESPN's Justin Pugh.
The Green Bay Packers can do it all. I don't want to say they've jumped the Lions, but because of the injuries, I'd be more scared maybe right now to play the Packers than the Lions.
Justin Pugh on Game Day. Tonight's game at 8 Eastern on ABC and ESPN. Notre Dame defensive lineman Riley Mills will miss the rest of the college football playoff with a right knee injury. Former Penn State quarterback Bo Pribula will transfer to Missouri. Pribula had been the backup to Drew Aller this season, but left the team before their first playoff game. Former Georgia Tech wideout Eric Singleton Jr. transfers to Auburn. He is ESPN's top-rated receiver in the transfer portal. ESPN's Jeff Passan reports pending a physical, Mets lefty Sean Manaea will sign a new 3-year, $75 million contract. Manaea went 12-6 this year, helping the Mets reach the NLCS.
Guess what? Discover's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. You heard right, 99%. If you don't think so, maybe it's time to face facts. You're stuck in the past. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report. Learn more at discover.com/credit card.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com. All your printing, scanning, copying needs, Gulf Coast Office Products has got you covered. Denton Day will be with us in half an hour. Talk some Commanders football with him. We'll certainly talk about the college football playoff as well. But right now, we'll chat with our guy Glenn West, Go 24/7 senior writer, usually with us on Tuesdays, but we're off tomorrow. So Glenn, good enough to make some time for us today. He'll join us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glenn, how are you?
Doing well, Hunt. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays right back at you, sir. You were obviously in the PMAC back on Sunday watching some hoops. Mike Williams not with the team for personal reasons. Your thoughts on his kind of disappearance over the last month and what that means for LSU's backcourt?
Yeah, I mean, there's just been a whole bunch of change with this team that's gone on over the last couple of weeks, and I think you saw in the first half on Sunday just kind of how they're trying to adjust with some of the new realities that they have. But, Mike Williams has not really been a part of the mix here for, as you mentioned, a better part of a month. And I think that we got to take what McMahon is saying right now, what Matt McMahon said, which is, he's away from the team for personal reasons, but they should have him back after Christmas. To me, that signals some kind of, coach's decision, possibly a suspension. But we'll see kind of what happens with Mike when they get back from the break. But he's really kind of fallen, out of the rotation. And I think the biggest thing that he did for him last year was just provide some perimeter shooting, some pretty good on-ball defense at times. He was able to get his hands in passing lanes, but right now LSU has a pretty deep backcourt right now, and they go about 5 or 6 deep, and there just doesn't seem to be a whole lot of room right now for Mike Williams, who's a backup point guard.
Curtis Givens, the last 2 games, 11 assists, just 1 turnover. What have you seen from him as he's kind of taken that backup point guard role now?
Yeah, he was certainly a bright spot on Sunday, I thought. He still hadn't been shooting the ball particularly well, but I do think he's going to be a pretty good shooter for this team eventually. But he's definitely a lot more in control of his game over the last couple of weeks, and you're seeing it reflect on the box score with his passing, his decision making. I thought he was really solid as the kind of that backup point guard on Sunday, and really was on the floor for a lot of LSU's big run during that game. They were really not playing very good, clean basketball for the first 25 minutes or so of that game, and they were able to finally go on that 18-0 run, 22-1 run, and Givens was out there for a good portion of that. So he's somebody that can get the offense going in the half court. He, like I said, is a smart decision maker. He's strong with the ball in his hands. And can get his other teammates involved. So once that shot really comes along, I think he's going to be a really valuable piece down the road. But until then, he's also providing you some really good defense and some obviously really solid passing as well.
Are you concerned with LSU's shooting right now, specifically from three-point range?
I am. I'm concerned with a couple different things. I don't know how this team's going to be able to hold up on the boards when SEC play gets here. I mean, UNO was battling with them on the boards for the first 25 minutes or so of this game as well. And this was a game where you really hope LSU would have come out and put them away early and not had this be something that lingered into the second half. And a big part of that was the 9 turnovers in the first half, but also the rebounding. And UNO's been a pretty solid rebounding team, and hasn't been a very solid rebounding team. LSU hasn't either. So how that kind of translates into SEC play is going to be very interesting for me to watch. But the one way that you can kind of combat some of those issues is by making shots, and LSU just hasn't really been able to make a ton of shots right now from beyond the arc in particular. Jordan Sears got off to a pretty rough start. Cam Carter's got to be a little bit more consistent for you back there as well. So it's going to be something you have to watch for the good portion here of SEC play. It's just so many of these teams are really good three-point shooting teams, and that's going to be the great equalizer, I think, in a lot of these games. So LSU's got to be able to find out their rotations, figure out what the best ways to get their guys open looks, and those guys got to knock them down at a little bit more of a consistent rate going forward.
All right, let's talk a little bit about football. Of the transfer portal additions that LSU has made, has any stood out more than the others to you?
Yeah, there are a couple. I would say the signing of Mansour Delane was one that really came together quickly, and he's somebody that's 6'1", 6'2", can fill a number of different roles for LSU. He's probably going to start at corner, but I could also see a scenario where if LSU's in a pinch, they could move him back to safety and he could produce. So he's somebody that I think could fill multiple roles in that secondary as a veteran guy. I thought that was a really huge pickup for them, and really kind of showed how much they're coming to bat and how much they're playing ball with the transfer portal cycle this year to go out there and get a guy like that. And then the most recent one, Braylon Moore, getting a veteran center in here, a guy who's got a lot of starting experience. I think that was an absolutely crucial move because I think it also solves maybe another position too, which is with DJ Chester. I think you can slide him over to guard, and all of a sudden now you have a couple spots that you feel pretty good about. I really like that move with Braylon Moore, and that was something we were expecting for a while, but to make it official here before the holidays, I thought was really important and a really crucial move here to have somebody under center with Garrett Nussmeier that has some of that veteran experience and leadership that they can lean on next year.
How much differently do you feel about LSU's 2025 team today than you did a month ago?
Oh, I mean, so much differently. I think they've addressed a lot of the positions in need that they really had to go out and get. I mean, we talked about the center and some of the secondary moves, but the edge rushers have been really impressive between Pyburn and Jamari Butler and Patrick Payton. I think that you can certainly make an argument here that defensive end edge rusher position should be really strong next year for LSU. They'd be able to rotate a bunch of guys in there and have some effect. And then, wide receiver, you needed to go out and get some playmakers. You got Nick Anderson and Barian Brown, who were two of the more explosive players in the SEC. I know Anderson didn't play last year, but in 2023 he was one of the biggest up and coming stars in the entire in all of college football. So to get those two on board for this season, you add Nick Sharp, the tight end. I think that they've done a really nice job of kind of addressing a lot of their needs and being aggressive with going out and getting guys with SEC, Big Ten starting experience. Now you just got to figure out safety. You probably got to add another offensive lineman, possibly another tight end. But they've done a really nice job to this point, and I think you can feel a lot better about this roster because of some of the moves they've been able to make over the last 2 weeks.
You got all your Christmas shopping done?
I haven't. I gotta go. I've got to go do some shopping here this afternoon. But we'll hopefully figure it out and be battling. But we'll try to find some parking spots and get some gifts here over the last 24 hours or so.
Nothing like waiting to the last minute. I appreciate the hustle. All right, Glenn, thanks for being flexible with us today. Have a great Christmas, and we'll talk next week.
All right. Thanks, Don. Appreciate it.
Glenn West, senior writer at Go 24/7. All your team coverage, all your recruiting coverage, they got you covered over there at Go 24/7. Glenn, usually with us on Tuesdays, but instead decided to slide things around since we won't be here the next 2 days and chat with us today. And I always enjoy our conversations on a number of different topics with LSU sports. Hit a little basketball and a little football there in that segment. Denton Day is going to jump aboard in 20 minutes to talk all things college football. When we come back, there's a position that actually Glenn just talked about there briefly that I'm really encouraged by with LSU now that I wasn't as of a month ago. Let's talk about that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is that website. Property and casualty, they got you covered. Group employee benefits, they got you covered there as well. It's your one-stop shop as far as insurance goes. Highland Insurance Group, Jonathan Carbo and his team, they're an independent broker. Means they've got dozens of markets available to best place your insurance if you're a commercial business. If you think about insurance and you just say, well, here's what it costs and not really sure what it does, that's one way to handle things, but it's probably not the best way to handle things. You should trust your insurance broker to put you in the right position and then understand why they did so. And that's what the kind of relationship you're going to have with the Highland Insurance Group. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, you're going to need insurance, and they can help you out with that. Whether it's EPL, crime, D&O, umbrella, cyber, whatever the case may be. If you're not real confident in what your insurance program does, call the Highland Insurance Group or check them out online at HighlandIG.com. It's HighlandIG.com for the Highland Insurance Group.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Brack, your #1 park system in the nation.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local.
Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose.
A lovely song. Lovely time of year. So a reminder, we will be off tomorrow for Christmas Eve and obviously off on Wednesday for Christmas Day. Back in action on Thursday. Matt is out this week. Musso going to be in the captain's chair today and on the back end of the week on Thursday and Friday. Similar situation in terms of days of the week next week, but Tuesday being that it is New Year's Eve and LSU will be playing. We will not have our normal ESPN lineup of shows, but we will have Eagle 98.1 Game Day, and obviously I'll have the pregame show over there at LSU. We'll have the broadcast, and then I'll have my postgame show as well on New Year's Day. On New Year's Eve. We'll take New Year's Day off next week. So it's just I think a lot of folks pretty excited when Christmas and New Year's fall right in the middle of a week, just kind of like napalm's 2 weeks of productivity. But we will be in action for 4 days next week and 3 days this week. So hope everybody has a safe and wonderful Christmas, and appreciate y'all for making us part of whether it's your travels or just some time off or you're in the office. We always do appreciate it. One of the things that is very difficult to argue against is that LSU's defensive ends this year really stepped up their games. Braden Swinson went from kind of a platoon guy to an all-conference level player who will likely be a second-day NFL draft pick. I think that's reasonable to suggest. And Savion Jones, who really never emerged his first 3 years on campus. I think he was kind of the guy that you thought would be next. It was kind of like Calevon, and then you had B.J. Ojulari, and you thought Savion Jones might be that next guy when they moved on, and it just never really happened his first 3 years. He had a really solid year this year, I thought, was probably a little bit better against the run. It's not just an absolute demon coming off the edge like Swinson was, but those two guys played really good football, and I think that Kevin Peoples deserves a lot of credit for that. There's a reason when Blake Baker came down from Missouri that he wanted Kevin Peoples on his staff. He wanted to have that guy coaching his edge rushers. And so when you see that kind of an improvement for two guys in 1 year, it excites you about what could be next. But then you realize that Swinson's moving on and Savion Jones is moving on, and Deshaun Womack is going to the transfer portal, and he's now at Ole Miss. It was a pretty empty room there on the edge. It was kind of like Gabe Relaford, Dylan Carpenter, and like that's kind of it. But LSU has rectified that situation in a big, big way. It started with Jamari Butler, obviously, from Nebraska, who's a good athlete, 6'4", 245 pounds, had 7 tackles for loss this past year and a pair of sacks. Then you go and get Jack Pyburn, who's a crazy man from Florida, 6'3", 265, and an excellent run defender. Not a guy that's had a lot of productivity in the pass rush aspect of the game, but a very, very stout run defender on the edge. Then you've got Patrick Payton, who committed over the weekend from Florida State, and that's a guy who was a really, really productive player in his time at Florida State. You look at his time there over 3 seasons, you're talking about a guy that has tallied 16 sacks and 31.5 tackles for loss coming off the edge for Florida State. Last year, not this past season, but in 2023, he was the opposite edge for Jared Verse and had a really, really productive season in 2023. Had 7 sacks and 14.5 TFLs. But this is a long, rangy athlete at 6'5", 250 pounds that is a big-time talent that LSU pulls in here to add with Gabe Relaford and Dylan Carpenter. So you look at that 2 deep, and you've got Jamari Butler, Jack Pyburn, Patrick Payton, Gabe Relaford, Dylan Carpenter. All of a sudden, you've got high-end talent. I would argue that Patrick Payton and Gabe Relaford are big-time talents, and I would argue that Pyburn has a little different skill set that's going to allow him to be a really good run defender. They'll probably work on his pass rush ability as well. And then Jamari Butler has got all the measurables that you would want as well. I all of a sudden look at defensive end for LSU, and now don't consider it a question mark. I would consider that a strength on this team. We know that LSU's got a defensive coaching staff that has a lot of skins on the wall and has done a really good job at developing talent. And they're starting to accumulate that talent. And I've said this a lot of times over the last couple of weeks, and I don't think I'm going to slow down saying this anytime soon. Like, LSU's next great team is going to be great on the defensive line. This team was not great on the defensive line. But the great teams that we've seen LSU produce are great on the defensive line. They affect the passer, and they stuff the run. And LSU's got to get back to that. And the only way to do it is to recruit and develop. And I believe at this transfer portal haul, you're looking at some big-time players. I think that I would struggle to find a surefire first-rounder there, but I like the productivity at the college level. I mean, you're talking about bringing in a guy that has 16 career sacks in Patrick Payton. Like, that is not to be dismissed. And then you consider that Pyburn has proven it in the SEC and that Payton was a starter on an undefeated Florida State team last year. That's big-time stuff that LSU is pulling in. And so you feel pretty good about what LSU's got at linebacker with Weeks coming back, and then obviously with potentially Harold Perkins as well. And then you look at the secondary that Corey Raymond's starting to put together with Mansour Delane, and you bring him in, and then you bring in DJ Pickett, obviously, and you're starting, and Jakeem Jackson, you're starting to look at this LSU defense, and it's a lot more proven than what they've trotted out there the last couple of years. They made strides from 2023 to 2024. You would have had to. You could not be any worse than that. But you're starting to even take that up a tick. And I'll be pretty candid here. Like, I looked at LSU's roster and the schedule for next year in November, and I'm going, this is a recipe for disaster. And what LSU has done to not only just grab guys out of the portal, but plug and play starters. You have got probably, I would guess, 8 starters out of the transfer portal. You've got center. You've got 2 or 3 at wide receiver. You've got probably 2 at corner. You've got probably 2 on the defensive end.
Hopefully they're starters.
That's what I'm saying. But I mean, you talk about 8 starters changing. That's out of 22 spots. You're pushing half. So it's a different team and a different roster than what it looked like back a month ago. Now, you knew this was coming to a degree, but we can't. It's not like recruiting where you've got commitments that you've seen coming for a year and a half. This all happens in a week, and we try to keep up and try to digest it. But it's happening really, really fast, and people are leaving on the other end as well. So I feel like LSU, if I was going to try to quantify this, I feel like LSU may have added 2 wins to this team in the transfer portal. Like, there's no metric for me to put that together, but that's just what it feels like based on the amount of impact players that they have brought in. I understand that it's unlikely that all of them work. Not all of them worked at Ole Miss, but most of them did. I mean, you look at Walter Nolan and Princely Umamielen. You look at Trey Amos and Pooh Paul. Like, they brought in a bunch of guys that we knew about, not that like broke out. Like, we knew, okay, that's the guy. They brought him. And those guys became studs on that team. Ole Miss probably had the best defense in the SEC this year. And it was with majority guys that were from outside. And LSU is hoping to follow that model. I think we kind of jeered at Lane Kiffin when he started doing this, but LSU's kind of following that model. And I don't know how sustainable it is. Ole Miss is trying to do this again, but I'm telling you, if you're adding Sage Ryan and Deshaun Womack instead of Walter Nolan and Trey Amos, like, it's probably not going to quite work to that extent. But it's certainly the way that Brian Kelly's approaching this thing, and I especially at defensive end, I really, really like the direction that they've taken things with big-time talent and then proven playmakers at this big-time level. It's like Nebraska, Florida State. Like, this is not trying to score a Jared Verse out of Albany. This is going to get dudes who played in the best conferences in the country and won big-time games and have been productive that you're bringing into the program. I think it's a really, really good thing. We talked about wide receiver a lot last week, but I'm excited about what LSU has brought in at defensive end over the past week and a half, and I think it's going to make a big, big impact. And then you got to trust Kevin Peoples to get it done, and I certainly do after what we saw from this year. So big, big stuff from LSU out on the edge. Our Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com, all your printing, scanning, copying needs at Gulf Coast Office Products. We will step aside when we come back. Denton Day, talk some Commanders, talk some college football playoff, all those things that we generally do each and every Monday. That's coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Genesis of Baton Rouge, the only fully exclusive Genesis dealer in the state of Louisiana. You go by there. It's a gorgeous facility, fantastic people to work with. You're going to feel like a guest at Genesis of Baton Rouge, not like a customer. I know a lot of folks don't love going to the car dealership, feel like it's a real pressure situation. You're not going to get that vibe at Genesis of Baton Rouge, I promise you. And when you think Genesis, you should think luxury. When you think luxury, don't think, I can't afford that. It's luxury vehicles at reasonable prices. It's a fantastic experience to go in there and do your purchasing with Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every single new Genesis of Baton Rouge, 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. 10-year 100,000-mile warranty, plus 3 years of complimentary maintenance. It's all at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Check them out online, genesisofbatonrouge.com, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Got chores that need some extra muscle, but a large piece of equipment is overkill? That's what John Deere compact utility tractors were made for. Powerful enough for the work you need to do. Compact enough for how you need to do it. Find the equipment that's right for you at Sunshine Quality Solutions. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktail. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP. The Queen Casino, where every moment is a win.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary. For those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play. With safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Monday show is brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. No matter what vertical market you may work in, Gulf Coast Office Products has clients in that line of work, and they know the needs of that industry in terms of printing, copying, scanning. So whether you're in healthcare, whether you're in medicine like that, or whether you're in education, banking, law, like us, a media company, they handle our printers, copiers, scanners. They can handle yours as well. Check them out online, gcopnet.com, gcopnet.com. Appreciate Trey Beal and his whole team. Great partners here of the Hunt Palmer Show and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. They bring you our Monday shows each and every week. And on those Monday shows, we hear from our guy, Denton Day, SiriusXM's College Football Overtime. We do so now. Denton, how we doing?
Hunt, I am on Cloud 5. Not Cloud 9, Cloud 5. I got a quarterback.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Seen him in person before a few times, and it generally went pretty well. Yesterday was pretty awesome. Even though Jalen Hurts goes out of the game, still it's a huge win for Washington, and Jaden was fantastic down the stretch, as he has been multiple times now. What are the vibes in the nation's capital about that?
Crazy. I'm 29 years old, Hunt. I've never seen more than 10 wins this season in my lifetime being a fan of this team, and there are 2 games left on the schedule with 2 teams that are not spectacular. Atlanta's working with a new quarterback in Penix, and then you got the Dallas Cowboys. So all they got to do is beat one of them. It clinches their spot in the playoffs, and I get to see an 11-win team for the first time in my life. So the vibes are incredibly, incredibly high.
What do you think about the Commanders' chances in the NFC? The Lions are banged up. You just beat the Eagles, albeit without Hurts for the majority of that game. I mean, what do you think about Washington's chances?
Oh, about 28 hours ago, I would have said, I'm not sure. 27 hours ago, I would have said terrible, because at that point they were getting beat up by this Eagles team. But now I would say, look, we have all understood, or at least those of us that are from this area who are intelligent, if you got a quarterback, you got a chance. And it's now very clear they have a quarterback. And they have a guy, I would say right now, the only guy in terms of clutch that is definitively better than him. Wears 15 on his chest in Kansas City. Outside of that, I think Jaden's in any sort of conversation right now as far as clutch quarterbacks go. It's probably him, and it's probably Joe Burrow. So I don't know. Something's in the water down there in Baton Rouge. But those are the 2 guys. They are calm in the moments where they need to be calm. And he's a winner. He's a winner like this city has not seen in 30 years.
Just a crying shame, the defense that LSU put out on the field last year when he was setting records. Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors were lighting it up every Sunday, too. It was just no defense being played whatsoever in purple and gold last fall. All right, let's talk about the college football playoff. Let me be open-ended here. What do you think of the weekend?
I thought the weekend was kind of what I expected it to be. I think you and I talked about this, Hunt, but forgive me if I'm mistaken. 4-12 is always an aggressive idea. It was an aggressive idea. It should have been 4-8. I think if it was 4-8 and then you kind of seeded way better than what we got just last week or this past weekend, even Tennessee didn't look anywhere near on the same level as an Ohio State. There was not one really, really good matchup in there except for maybe Clemson and Texas. So towards the end, but it also never really felt like the Clemson was going to get fully within striking distance to do something impossible. So I thought this weekend was exactly what we all should have expected, which is who is a good football team, and there were a bunch of other teams that got a nice payday, but we're not. They're not. It was 4 teams that were not on the level of what it takes to be a championship team.
Would you have rather seen South Carolina or Alabama, or you just think that there aren't enough good teams to fill out a bracket?
Definitely not enough good teams to fully fill out a bracket. I can't think of a year where there has been 12 legitimate championship contenders. Not even in this sport, but in any sport. Like, it's very difficult to do that. With that said, seeing South Carolina would have been awesome. I thought they were playing the best out of anybody towards the end of the season, and I thought the 12-team playoff would have incentivized that. So you can get, maybe a mishap or two early, and then because you play well at the end, and we do this thing called the eye test, you benefit from that. I would have loved to see them. I think Ole Miss would have been fine. Lane Kiffin got kind of annoying towards the end of the weekend with everything that he was tweeting. Alabama, I was kind of good on. Look, you scored 3 points against Oklahoma. Yeah. What were you going to do against Ohio State? I don't care how big game of a player Jalen Milroe is. In 20-degree weather, you're not doing anything offensively in that one. So South Carolina definitely, Ole Miss maybe, Alabama no.
So Hurst Street was kind of on a warpath the back end of the weekend, talking about we can't put Indiana in this thing. SMU, he's just saying, I don't care how many games you win, I care who you beat. Do you think that there is reasonable change that could happen here after this first edition of the college football playoff, as far as seedings or the at-large process or conference champions? Do you think that? He's got a pretty loud voice in the sport. I'm just curious if you think there are changes imminent.
There definitely should be changes in the way that they seed this thing. I am fully on board with the idea of a conference championship getting you into the dance. That is perfectly logical, and I think it values getting to the conference championship, particularly in a conference this year like the ACC or like the Big 12, where you probably don't get an at-large bid. SMU obviously did, but in the Big 12, you probably don't get an at-large bid if you don't have the conference championship thing. So I'm fully on board with that. But then as far as it goes to seeding, you should just get the 12 and then seed the 12 once you have the 12. So Arizona State doesn't need a bye. Boise doesn't need a bye. Look, if you're the group of 5, you get into the dance. That's your reward. You don't get a bye just because 2 other conferences were a little lesser when it came to their conference championship. So I think the seeding certainly needs to be redone. And then maybe you get a few better games on the opening weekend. Maybe. I don't know that the seeding this year would have made that much of a difference. Indiana, look, they just don't have the talent. SMU, they can't play in the cold, and they don't have the talent. And you go from playing in a stadium with 32,000 to a stadium with 106. That's a massive difference. That's a big thing, big adjustment there. So I think that's really what a lot of this came down to.
Yeah, look, if SMU and Boise play, or Indiana plays Arizona State, that's probably more competitive. I don't know if that's the match. That's obviously not what we would get if you seeded them 1 through 12. But that's just the back end of this playoff. I'm a little torn on it. I like the 12-team playoff, and I'm not mortified by what we saw this weekend, because I think that sometimes there will be blowouts and sometimes there won't be. I don't think that this is a complete indictment on the entirety of the process, because we saw blowouts in the 4-team playoff at most years. So right. I'm an elitist. I'm very, very, very comfortable in that skin. I don't need to see SMU or Arizona State or Boise ever play football. That doesn't matter to me. But I know that you are a G5 alum, so I was just curious if you had a different kind of attitude toward that. Do you like the G5 getting a representation?
I do like it just because I know how much it benefits the program. Liberty's a great example because they went to New Year's Six game last year.
Yeah.
That really helped the program, I think, in the long term. So I'm all for it, but you have to understand there is a difference between the real big boys of this sport and a team that maybe won 11 games.
Right.
They're the talent. This is not. I think a lot of people want this to kind of turn into some form of March Madness where you get upsets. It's a lot easier to have an upset when you're not having to smack a guy in the mouth every single play for 60 minutes. There is just a physical difference between the haves and the have-nots in this sport, and I think that's kind of what we saw over the weekend. Though I will say this, Hunt, what took them so long to get home games? Oh my God! To the surprise of nobody, the home atmosphere was sensational just about everywhere this weekend. I mean, that needs to be a thing a lot more than just the first round moving forward.
Were you surprised Texas hung 38 on Clemson?
Yeah, just because that offense had not been all that good this year, I thought. Especially the way that they kind of ended their season. I didn't think they were going to have some sort of offensive explosion the way that they did. So that was very surprising.
And let's talk about Tennessee and Ohio State. I'm curious, do you think there is a ceiling on Tennessee with Nico Iamaleava at quarterback?
No, because I think it's fair to think that he's going to get better. And what we saw on this past weekend, it's funny, I'm actually an hour out from Columbus now. I'm traveling there with my fiance for Christmas. Just showing up 2 days too late. Would have been a fun environment to be at. It would have been cold as hell though. I think what we saw with him this weekend is that he is not accustomed to the speed of the game when it comes to making decisions. But I do think as quarterbacks get older and they mature, they will get better there. He certainly has athleticism. I think you saw a little bit of gamerism in him in the way that he was attempting to do his best to put the team on his back. I just think there right now are limitations when it comes to processing and throwing it. But those are things that I do think with the right development on the staff at Tennessee can get better in a year or 2 years from now.
Does James Franklin get any credit for beating SMU, or does he still have 2 weeks before he can earn any credit in your book?
I think you get a little bit of credit. I mean, that was a dominating performance. It's funny, we were doing the show late that night, and I said, if you just look at the box score and you see what Drew Aller did, you're going to the Penn State message boards and thinking that James Franklin's getting fired immediately.
Yeah.
But their defense was so good, their running game was so good, they didn't need a big Drew Aller game. I do think eventually he needs to have one, but I think as far as Franklin goes, I think right now he's all right. You got the one win. Obviously, beating Boise is going to help tremendously, but I think just making sure that you got out of the first round was huge for him.
Will we hear of Indiana again in the Kurt Cignetti era, or was this their one moment in the sun?
I think we might see them be an above average team in the Big Ten for years to come. I mean, he got really annoying towards the end of this season. It felt like he was having arguments that all of us had walked away from, and he was just banging on the lunch table, still making the same points. And just like, buddy, we kind of moved on from this. And then the fact that he went on game day and was like, we beat ranked teams. We beat someone that was ranked 25 in the Coaches Bowl, which nobody cares about. And then he pulled out a reference from when he was at James Madison 2 years ago, beating a G5 Sunbelt, Coastal Carolina, and said, we beat ranked teams. I was kind of done with him by the end of it. I think that Indiana did enough to where they'll be able to get good recruits moving forward, but I don't think they're going to get this perfect balance of good recruits and the weakest schedule that a Power 5 team is going to play.
Yep, I'm kind of with you there. Do you have any interest in any of these bowl games that are non-playoff games?
Not really. I feel terrible saying that because I love the sport. You love the sport. Nick Saban was called a madman 10, 12 years ago now when he said the college football playoff is going to just completely destroy bowl games. He's right. Even as a gambler, I really don't have a ton of interest. I'll just save my money and gamble on the games that I am legitimately invested in.
I think the only game that I know of is I know that USC is playing Texas A&M in the Vegas Bowl. I can't name an SEC opponent for another bowl game outside of LSU. I don't even know, and I don't even know when the games are. I have completely checked out on it. It's a little bizarre.
Yeah, I haven't looked at literally any of them. Yeah, because there's so many playoff games. I know there was a couple that happened. Florida was in one this weekend. I couldn't tell you the score. I think they lost.
No, they beat Tulane. I know that because that's the New Orleans team here. But I didn't know until that game that day that they were playing that game. I found one of my buddies texted me about it that day, so that's how I found out about that one. But yeah, not
it's that because I did love bowl games.
Yeah, just about toast. It appears. So y'all have a great Christmas, Denton. We'll talk next week and preview those playoff games. All right.
All right, appreciate it, hon. Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas to you as well. It's Denton Day, SiriusXM's college football overtime with us. I'm serious, Beck. I can't name one other SEC opponent. I'm not sure why I know that USC and A&M are in the Vegas Bowl. I think it's because LSU just played USC, but I don't know who Ole Miss is playing. I don't know. I think Arkansas is in the Liberty Bowl, maybe.
Yeah, I want to say
Bam. I don't even know who Bama's playing. I have no idea. Absolutely
Oh,
no idea.
man.
Is that bad?
That's pretty. I mean, I guess it is, but is it? I don't know that it is that bad. Honestly, I mean, who really cares?
Bowl game schedule. I'm pulling this up. All right, let's see if I can find. Okay, you got Florida and Tulane. They've already played. Oklahoma is in the Armed Forces Bowl against Navy.
Georgia Tech and Vandy.
Vandy and Georgia Tech. There's a lot of smart people at that game. I'm
Texas
assuming.
Tech and Arkansas.
That's the Liberty Bowl. I was right. Arkansas's in the Liberty Bowl. I didn't know they were
A&M
playing
and
Texas Tech.
USC. That's
Yeah, in the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl. Can't miss that. Must see TV there. And then is there another
Missouri
SEC
and
team?
Iowa?
Missouri and Iowa.
And
the Music
City Bowl.
Davis playing Michigan. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been such a great
The
bowl game
ReliaQuest
15
Bowl.
years ago. The ReliaQuest Bowl.
South Carolina's got Illinois in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl.
Coach Bielema.
And
Bielema and Beaver.
Duke and Ole Miss in the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl.
So the Cutcliffe Bowl, we'll call that.
Yeah, that's it.
That's all the SEC teams.
That's it.
And that's impressive stuff. We'll be sure to catch all the action coming up for the next couple of weeks with SEC bowl games. We'll step aside and come back. We'll close things out. We'll take it or leave it. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Of a white.
Watched It's a Wonderful Life last night. Greatest Christmas movie ever made.
You know, there's a lot of, at least contemporaries of mine that actually think that movie is terrible, and that it's like really sad and depressing, and it kind of is sad.
No, it's not.
I mean, at the beginning at least, but
I mean, he doesn't get down on his luck until late into the movie.
Yeah, okay.
His dad dies.
Right, but still, I agree with you. I think it's a really good movie, but there are some people out there that think
the
that
writing
it's like really
is awesome.
sad.
I think
it's a good movie.
I think
agree
the
with
star of the movie is just an incredible performance. I don't know any of their names, any of the actors, but we did look up a bunch of their names last night when we were watching and looked at when they were born. It's like
1908 or something.
Oh no, Clarence the Angel was born in 1860 something.
Oh my!
It is. It was. I mean, it was a long time ago.
Yes.
But still, it just delivers every single year. I watch that movie once a year, usually the Sunday before Christmas, and we watched it last night, and it was awesome. I looked over at the end of the movie, and Alyssa's just sitting on the couch crying, which
it's
seemed
sad.
to be it was happy
at
tears
the
beginning, at the end when he comes back to his family. Oh, drafty house. Great movie. Great film. Enjoyed it very much. Probably going to do a little Christmas vacation. Maybe tomorrow. We got to watch the Saints tonight, so no Christmas movies in that way. But great stuff last night. We got one more order of business, so we'll take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
Alrighty, first one here. Working the day after Christmas. Take it or leave it.
I think I'm going to leave it. I think I'm going to let Taylor do my show. I think I'm going to bail on Thursday's show.
Really, you really just putting it all on Taylor, huh?
I feel awful, but he did come up to my desk and tell me that he would do it.
Okay, fair enough.
He came up the stairs to my office and said, dude, if you want to, because I mentioned that Alyssa's tick that I'm working on Thursday.
Yeah.
Because she took the day off. And Thursday's the 26th. Yeah, his birthday is Friday the 27th. Yeah, I think I've made the executive decision. I think I'm going to let Taylor have it. I got to put in for my vacation. But as we talked about previously, you can only roll over so much of your vacation. I have all this stuff that I didn't, because we didn't go on a summer trip or anything. I've got all this vacation that I just never used. So maybe I'll use some on Thursday.
All right, next one here. The NFL on Christmas Day. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. Gonna leave it.
Leave it alone.
It's in the middle of the week. It's a Wednesday. It's weird scheduling.
Yeah.
Somehow the Chiefs are playing on 6 weekdays this year. I don't really need it. I don't watch a lot of sports on Christmas. So I'm sure it'll be on. I don't know what games are on. I guess the Chiefs are playing. I'm sure I'll find a way to have it on somewhere. So we're gonna be driving all over the place on Christmas. Plus, I got a 3-year-old, so that doesn't lend itself to a lot of watching football time on Christmas. So
yeah, it's the Chiefs and Steelers at 12 o'clock,
That's
and
a good
then
game.
the Ravens and Texans at 3:30. So
those
really
are very
good
good games.
But
I don't know how much I'll weave into my Christmas.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. Next one, the NBA on Christmas Day. Take it or leave it.
Leave it.
Leave it alone.
I like the NBA on Christmas Day. I'll wake up in the morning. I'll just put the TV on ESPN or whatever channel it's gonna be on and just have it in the background. I'm not trying to watch every game intently, but it's just cool to have it on in the background.
Yeah, I think as I'm processing these questions, I'm thinking I just don't watch a lot of television on Christmas.
Yeah,
There's just a lot going on. You've got presents and stuff in the morning, and then you're obviously gonna have a big meal, and we're making 2 drives, and you're playing. It just doesn't seem like I'm gonna be locked in on a lot of sports on Christmas. So that's not an indictment on the NFL or the NBA that I'm not gonna be watching a lot. It's just kind of the way the day goes.
Yeah. All right. Next one. Steve Belichick will be Bill Belichick's defensive coordinator at North Carolina. That's, of course, Bill's son. Bill took the job to hand it off to Steve. Take it or leave it.
Take it.
I'll take it.
100%. That was 95% of why he took this job, I think. None of the responsibilities that a college football coach has, I envision Bill Belichick doing a significant amount of. The the 25 phone calls you have to make every Wednesday and Thursday to recruits, the sucking up to 16-year-olds on their visit and watching them do photo shoots, the dealing with the boosters and raising money for NIL.
Did you see?
There's nothing I think that Bill Belichick wants to do in that
There are
realm.
already people like he posted. There was a photo posted of Bill. They got some guy at the transfer portal, I think, and they showed a picture of him at a desk like signing the papers, and Bill Belichick was in the background just standing there like as he usually is, and it's like this guy could care less about signing this kid out of the transfer portal. Like, really?
It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it doesn't.
I have to think that the staff is doing everything.
Yeah.
And Belichick will just kind of handle anything that comes to his desk. I don't think this is going to be. I don't think his job description will be like any of the other college coaches.
Yeah. All right, I got a few more here. Baseball Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson passed away.
He did?
Last Friday after a bout with pneumonia. Henderson is the greatest leadoff hitter of all time. Take it or leave it.
You'll take that. There's nowhere you could go beyond that. It's not that position has taken on a new meaning now. But I'm talking about speed, power, the entire package, on base percentage, scoring runs, which he scored more runs than anybody in the history of the sport. That would be the best. He's the best at that.
And just a note as well, to talk about the Baseball Writers Association, somehow he wasn't a unanimous Hall of Famer. Just astounding.
Well, that was because they were not voting for people so they wouldn't be. It was never the case of the people that didn't vote for him didn't believe he was a Hall of Famer. They just didn't believe that since no one had been a unanimous pick.
So then why did they
weren't
decide
gonna
that
do it.
Mariano Rivera would become the first one?
I don't know how that.
It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know how that. Maybe some of the guys aged out of the voting process.
I don't know. But all I'm going to say is Ichiro better be unanimous. That last one
Where
here.
did that come from?
He's on the ballot.
Okay.
Yeah. Bevo will not be traveling to Atlanta for the Texas-Arizona State game. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I mean, I think that's fine. You can leave Bevo back at Austin.
Yeah,
we did this whole thing with, I forget. What was the name of that tiger?
Omar?
I forgot Omar's name already.
Maybe they should just go pick up a steer somewhere
just
in
go get
Atlanta.
a cow.
Yeah, just go get a cow.
From rural Georgia.
Yeah, they got Chick-fil-A's over there. They got plenty of cows.
They got cows. Just find another cow with some big horns, put a Bevo thing on. That's just like Omar.
That'll work.
Omar the tiger. Oh, man. That's going to do it. Hope everybody has a fantastic and safe Christmas out there. We're going to take a couple of days off, as we mentioned. We'll be back in action on Thursday. Might be me, might be Taylor. Somebody will be here on Thursday. Merry Christmas, everybody. We will be back later in the week.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Make LeBear's Baton Rouge your game day headquarters all winter long. I've certainly done that a significant amount of times over the course of this football season. LeBear's, specifically ESPN Bet inside LeBear's, it's just an awesome place to watch games. They've got huge screens. They can put multiple games on at a given time. Got great seating options, whether it's individual or a group. They've got a great staff there, good food as well. It's an awesome, awesome place to take in games. So whether it's the Saints tonight, whether it's a big NFL slate coming up, whether it's the college football playoff, whether it's bowl games, whatever the case may be, get on by ESPN Bet inside LeBear's and make it your game day headquarters. It's right inside, just to the left when you come in the door. You can't miss it, and you'll have a ton of fun. Blackjack tables right next to the screen, so it's a great spot to watch games and get some action down. You got to be 21 years or older. If you've got a gambling problem, please call 1-800-522-4700 for help.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner